What is a good deed? In the Hebrew word, a good deed is translated into the word mitzvah. You may have heard that about a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. Well, the word mitzvah actually has three different translations to it. One is, yes, a good deed. Do a mitzvah, do a good deed. Another word, mitzvah means a commandment. There are 613 commandments that the Bible teaches us how to practice life. There are 7 general mitzvahs, that is for the whole world. 613 commandments are for the Jewish people. But for the rest of the world, here are the 7 general mitzvahs, commandments. And then you take the word mitzvah. Comes from the word of connection. It's from a Talmudic Aramaic word, mitzvah, tzavta, v'chibur. You make a connection. That when we fulfill a good deed, when we do a mitzvah, we are connecting with the person we are helping, with the good deed that we're doing. And when we fulfill a commandment, we are actually connecting with God. So when we do a good deed, when we do a mitzvah, we are connecting with the one who gave us the opportunity to do this mitzvah, which is God Almighty. And what we find something very interesting. Our sages write the words, one good deed leads to another good deed. When you find yourself doing a good deed, you're going to find it becoming contagious. That it's going to lead to another good deed. One good deed leads to another good deed. As a matter of fact, the reward for doing a good deed is the good deed itself. For being in the position and opportunity to do a good deed, to do something kind, means that God counted on you and gave you the tallest compliment ever. That God knows that you can be the bearer of a good deed. You could be the one who could deliver something positive, something good in this world. And that's why the reward of to be able to do a good deed is the actual good deed in itself. And this is something which we think about as human beings. We were created for one purpose only, and that is to serve God, to serve humanity, to serve this world. It is all one purpose because they're all connected with each other. When you love God, which means you love God's creations, you love God's world, and God put us on this world so that we can be good and kind to each other, so that we can do good deeds to each other. So when you think about, there are 7 general laws that are pertaining to the whole world. It's like 7 strings part of a rope. When you fulfill those 7 general laws, then each string makes the rope tight. That rope is what connects you to God. When all 7 are together, you have a very strong connection to God. And for the Jewish world, yes, we have 613 commandments. Each commandment is like a string. When you have a rope of 613 strings together, and you're doing your best to observe as much as possible, that makes your connection to God as strong as the rope can be. And this is why doing goodness and kindness to each other is a fundamental part of humanity and of godliness. Because that is what a good deed is. Doing something kind. Doing something that's going to benefit others. That's going to benefit the world. It's going to benefit those that you are helping. Because one good deed definitely leads to the next good deed. I want to share with you a story that may bring this to light. To help us appreciate and understand never to underestimate your acts of goodness and kindness, because you never know what effect it has on others and on the world. The ripple effect of doing a kindness, doing a good deed, doing a mitzvah, has insurmountable amount of effects, not just for you, but for the world and perhaps even for generations to come. Let me share with you a story about a chaplain. His name is Philip Zimmerman. He was a chaplain at an army base in Georgia. And this is during the Korean War. One Friday night, a distraught serviceman came to him with 3 envelopes. And he shared with the chaplain how concerned he was. In the one envelope was a transfer, a notice of transfer, that he's going to be transferred to Korea, to the battlefield. The other 2 envelopes were letters from his parents' cardiologists. His parents were elderly and they were not well. And the cardiologist wrote that your parents' health is very frail. And this serviceman, this soldier, turned to the chaplain and says, I am so concerned about being deployed to Korea because my parents' health is so frail. If they hear the news, it could affect them. It could even kill them. Please, chaplain, can you please talk to the commander and ask them if they could change my orders so that I do not get deployed to war, just for my parents' sake. I would love to serve the country, but I feel so concerned about my frail elderly parents. The chaplain, Philip Zimmerman, told the serviceman, let me see what I could do. This was Friday night. The chaplain, who was a traditional Jewish observant, does not ride on the Sabbath. So he began the 7-mile walk to headquarters. He walked the 7 miles. He arrived at the general commander, and he explained to him why he's there, and explained how Joey Young, the serviceman, received notice to be transferred to Korea, but he also received notice that both his parents are very frail and not well, and he's worried that the news of their only child being deployed may kill them. Please, can you change the transfer? The commander looked at the chaplain and said, with all due respect, we are at war and we need every soldier possible. The chaplain said, I tried. I was hoping that you may be able to make a change. And the commander apologized, says, there's nothing I can do at the time of war. The chaplain bid farewell, and the commander walked with him to the door. And he noticed that the chaplain walked to an empty parking lot. There's no Jeep there. So he asked the chaplain, where's your Jeep? Chaplain says, well, I am Sabbath observant and we don't drive on the Sabbath. So he says, how did you get here? He says, I walked the 7 miles and I'm going to walk back now. The commander couldn't believe his ears. He says, you walked 7 miles to plead the case of a serviceman? And now you're going to walk back 7 miles? He was taken by the commitment, the dedication of what a giant good deed this chaplain did for a fellow serviceman. The commander was in awe and told him that you put out so much of yourself to help a fellow serviceman. So will I. I will have his orders transferred to the New York base, and I will put in that he is commanded to visit his parents every night. Chaplain Zimmerman walked back the next 7 miles with such elation, such joy, realizing what it means that one good deed leads to another good deed. When he set out on the 7-mile walk to try to plead the case of his fellow servicemen, he had no idea that that walk is going to affect the commander. It is because when another person sees, when you do a good deed, it affects them, that they also want to do a good deed. And that is what our sages say. One good deed leads to another good deed. One mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. So every opportunity you have to do a good deed, don't just think about that specific good deed that you're going to do right now, but think about the greater picture. Think about the amount of goodness that you are introducing to the world. Think about the ripple effect that by you doing a good deed, you're going to cause others to do a good deed, and they will cause others to good deed. And so much good will be spread around because of your selfless and your understanding and appreciation of why you are here in the world is to do goodness and kindness to others, to do a mitzvah, because one mitzvah leads to another mitzvah. And the reward for your mitzvah is not only the good deed that you did, but all the good deeds that will come from it. Continue on doing greatness and goodness for others, and you'll be so well rewarded. God bless you. God loves you.